welcome to Great British Ghost. Today I'm in Essex. Later on I'll be going to the Old Courthouse Inn, which used to be a place of judgment and execution. But first I've come to St Osyth to visit this cottage, which is known as the Cage. Looks normal enough from the outside, but what goes on inside is anything but. The Cage at St Osyth is a small privately owned cottage sitting right on the edge of the main road to Clacton-on-Sea. It dates back to the 17th century when it was used as a local holding cell for prisoners awaiting trial. Today it's owned by Vanessa Mitchell, who agreed to show me around what some claim is the most frightening house in Britain.
Hi, Michaela.
Hi, Vanessa.
Welcome to the Cage.
It looks like such a sweet little cottage, but it has such a story, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has many, many stories, the Cage. It's very, it's an extremely haunted property, to be honest.
How long have you owned it?
I've owned it for 7 years now. 3 of those years I've lived here, and the other 3, unfortunately, I haven't been able to. It's been left empty.
Now, you've had all sorts of things that have happened to you in here, Vanessa, and you've chosen not to live here, haven't you?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I mean, I one day had to leave with a 4-month-old son and pack up and go and live with a friend in one room, basically, to get out of this house. It was that bad. Left it, and it's been here empty because of the, because of what happened in here. I just had to go. I bought the Cage about 7 years ago. Before that, the Cage had been up for sale regularly with every sort of 3-4 years, 2-3 years. Any owners that had bought this house always moved out of it. There's been lots and lots of bad stories connected to the Cage, and people lived here. There's been deaths, suicides. There's been people that have been perfectly happy, came here, and within months or years they'd been divorced. There's been a lot of illness. There's just been some really horrible stories. It's one of those houses. It's always up for sale, and everyone that leaves here flees. Literally like me. And I'm another part of the story. Had to go.
Give me a brief sort of summary of what this was.
This house used to be the old village prison. It's most famous for the witches in the old days that were tried. A lot of them were kept here. Up to 13 witches were kept in that room there, in the Cage room. Also, kids in the village that had stolen a loaf of bread, any type of criminal activity at all, and most of them were taken out of that room and executed.
Let's go and have a look in here, because this is the actual Cage, or was the Cage, wasn't it?
This is where they were kept. Now, they used to be chained up along here with leather straps. This is one of the...
When you say they, that's the witches?
Yeah, the witches. There was altogether, I think, 13, especially with the Ursula Kemp trials, 13 were taken and kept in here. This is one of the original chains, and this always swings, this chain as well. Just you'll be turning around and this chain will be swinging. We've got pictures of big black... I mean, you'd come in here sometimes and see black formations, like energy or masses, I'm not sure, but black things as figures, black figures. You know when you kind of turn around and you think someone's there? Well, in this place, and then there is someone there. The conditions of the Cage in those days would have been awful. There was no light at all. There was a tiny little light in the roof. There were no doors. That's the only visible light they would have had. It would have been very, very cold, very damp, no doubt full of mice and creatures. They were chained to the walls, lots of them all chained to the brick walls. It would have been horrible, and it would have been freezing and very, very unhealthy. Worst thing that had ever happened, and I hadn't really told anyone because it just sounds too fantastical. My friend, he was a sergeant major in Afghanistan, Neil, and my best friend Kirsty, she's a nurse. They popped in for a cup of tea. It was an afternoon, summertime. We walked through, made the tea, sat back out there. Now, before this was carpeted, it used to be the wood. And Neil's sitting there and he said, Ness, what's all that on the floor? There was big blood splatters on the floor.
You're kidding
I'm not
me.
Joking. This is absolute truth. Now, he came through and first of all he said, Ness, and he said, this is blood. And He said, what the hell is going on in this house? I've had some tenants ringing me up screaming, the activity at night up and down the stairs, cushions being thrown across the sofa, doors opening. One woman was physically kneeled on and she was in her bed and she was physically restrained in her bed. That was her last couple of weeks here. She again made plans to leave. I've tried to rent it out and nobody stays here long.
Yeah, we moved in after Vess had invited us to live here. She told us it was haunted before we came, but I was never a believer and didn't think anything of it. But after living here for 6 months to a year, it just got to the point where I felt uncomfortable, even in daytime, let alone of a night. After hearing people coming upstairs when there's no one in the house, doors rattling, things moving, things disappearing, it just got too much.
What's the worst thing that happened to you while you were in there?
I think the worst thing was being upstairs on my own of a night and hearing someone coming up the stairs, the handle on the bedroom door turning, and knowing full well that there's no one in the house, no one's likely to be in the house, and it just puts you on edge. You don't know what's coming through. You know that no one's there, but someone's coming up the stairs and someone's turning the handle, so it just got too much.
This is on the little downstairs toilet. There's a problem in here as well. Only quite recently, I was in here and I heard scratching coming from through this cupboard underneath from the floor. Now, first of all, I thought, scratching, what kind of noise was it? It wasn't like on tiles or it wasn't like on painted wood. It was as if it was coming actually from underneath. And it happened loudly twice. And then so I just got out again. I was only here just just clearing up and just had to go.
What do you think that was?
Well, there's supposed to be, every medium and psychic literally I've had in here in 4 years always say the same thing. They're buried underneath the floor. There's bodies underneath this floor. Now, for St Osyth, it's not out of the way because it's happened before. They found witches' skeletons and various things, bodies underneath floors. I think it may be connected to that, I'm not sure, but something's underneath there. Something's underneath here. And it was if, I'm not being dramatic, but it was if it's like, come on, I'm here.
Chris Palmer is a local paranormal investigator who believes that the cage is one of the most frightening places he's ever been.
We came here, that's probably about 8 at night. We were setting up the cameras all throughout the house. I was setting up upstairs, came walking down the stairs, and I felt a strong push on my back. I turned around, there weren't no one behind me, so I shouted to my colleague Lee to come down, because he was in the other room upstairs. He came down, and then he got shoved in the back as well downstairs, but he actually went right to the bottom.
Did he hurt himself?
No, because I was on the bottom, he landed on me. I have investigated probably hundreds of cases, but each time I come here, this is always the worst feeling. The next day I'll have a headache. I feel like when I'm in here, it's very depressing. It's a depressing place to be in. I couldn't live here. Couldn't be in it by myself for any length of time.
There was also one story of a gentleman that came here. He was with a ghost investigation team. He was a huge man. He was a debt collector. And he showed me his arms. He had stab wounds. He was a big, big man and not very easily intimidated at all. And he was in this room doing an investigation. And he said he got physically pushed into the wardrobe. Now, he said to me, Vanessa, look at the size of me. And he said this thing actually physically pushed him into the wardrobe. And he was terrified. And that's the thing, you could be big and brave and all you want, like you say, the dead don't hurt you, but people like him who deal with the living every day on that kind of basis, and he was actually physically attacked in here. And there's lots more people that have been physically attacked. I've had people pushed in the wardrobes, completely in the wardrobes. I've had people scratched, where you can physically see scratch marks. There's also been tragedy recently in the cage as well. One previous owner hung himself in this property. And from what I can gather, from what people see, he doesn't seem to have passed on. There is a theory that if you do commit suicide, you don't pass over, or you have to wait before you're collected. That is an opinion. Whether it's true or not, we don't know. But unfortunately, the suicide of a recent gentleman in here, he doesn't seem to have gone at all. This house has been up for sale every 3 years for as long as I can remember. I've been brought up in this village as a child, and I didn't realise how bad it was, but I look back now, there's a reason nobody's owned this house for long. There's a reason people always leave, or kill themselves in here, or get divorced, or go mad.
Well, what an extraordinary cottage the cage is. It just seems to have a bad, negative, draining energy. A dream if you're a ghost hunter, a complete haunting nightmare if you're an estate agent. This is the old Courthouse Inn in Great Bromley. It dates back to the 16th century and apparently it's very haunted. The owners have experienced all sorts of spooky goings-on, paranormal groups have investigated, and even intriguing spirit photographs have been taken.
The old Courthouse Inn in Great Bromley in Essex is a 17th century coaching inn, which was also used as an actual courthouse, complete with a gallows across the road. Lots of ghosts have been seen over the years, and spirit photographer Ron Bowers claims to have captured some of them on his digital camera, both here and back at the cage.
So, Ron, this first photograph that I'm looking at, where was that taken?
It was just taken on his staircase there.
Oh, just here?
Yeah, and looking down, down here. It's a matter of taking quite a few pictures, and out of one, you know, like 10 photographs, one appears.
And is that a ghost, then?
I'd like to think so, but it's an image of energy, I believe.
No idea who it might be?
No, there is a story of a lady that's been seen at the bottom of the stairs. Perhaps that's her.
Can everybody take spirit photographs?
Well, I would love to think so, but I mean, some people may capture something like in a family shot and be frightened. Who's that man in the background? And maybe they delete it if it's with a digital camera. It works for me. That's the only way I can say it, really.
This is obviously in the bathroom, Ron.
Yes.
In fact, right by there, right by the shower. But, you know, that's an extraordinary picture. You can actually see the shape of a lady.
That's right, and it actually looks like she's posing. Just before I took this picture, there was a group in here, and they were saying that they'd sent a lady. I was just taking pictures in total darkness, and that's one that I captured.
That's in darkness?
Total darkness using flash.
How do you do it, Ron? Because I look at that and I think, how come I wouldn't be able to get a picture like that?
Well, I mean, I'd like to believe I'm getting a helping hand from my father, but he always wanted me to be a photographer, but it's been explained to me it's a physical mediumship, and there were many physical mediums, 1800s up to 1940, and that was the only form of mediumship before.
What do you mean by that? I don't know what that means.
Physical mediumship is managing to capture something and give, like, proof, rather than someone saying they've got a John here, not actually giving any physical, it's actually producing something. Like a trance medium could sit there and his face can transfigure.
Where's this next one? Where's this? Is this back in the hallway?
Yes, that's downstairs.
Let's go and have a look at that one.
Yeah, some people would say these pictures are too good to be true, but all you can do is take a photograph, have people present with you, and show them straight away as soon as you take the photograph.
Landlords Vinnie and Sarah Runzulli and their daughter Sammy Jo have experienced lots of strange goings-on over the years.
When he came here and went upstairs to take some photos, and he went into room 3, and he was up there for about half an hour, and he just came running down the stairs, and he showed Vince actually on his camera the image.
Yeah.
It must be so, because no way could he not have taken that image.
No.
It was amazing, wasn't
And
it?
I mean, I think Ron Bauer's...
So excited, wasn't he?
Ron Bauer's pictures are great.
Yeah.
Everyone who comes in here and sees them, but the thing is, he came to me particularly because I'm a believer, but then not. I sort of try to find an answer for whatever, but my eyes have really opened quite wide
He's a
here.
real genuine man.
And he showed me on his actual camera the lens, the shots. Take 1 on the bed, take 2 of the figure, then take 3 of the floor, and he kept and I'm thinking, well, you know, he's not. How can he sort of fix this picture here, because it was on his actual lens of his camera, and yeah, I think he's made a believer out of me. I mean, but
well, I've actually
you know.
sat in a room with him when he's taken photos before he's actually taken it, and he said, "Sarah, have a look at this," before he's even taken the photo.
So where's this one, Ron?
It's outside room 2, just around this corridor.
Oh, look, yeah, I can see by the fire extinguisher. So how did you take this one?
Like I usually do, every picture I take, I view through the LCD screen and just snapping away, and this apparition appeared.
Was that in darkness?
Total darkness.
So you couldn't actually see this when you were taking the photo, you could just sense it?
Sensing, but sometimes you do see, but when you're using like rapid fire, because the shots are going, you know, you see something, and then obviously you have to play the camera back, and then...
And so this is there for what, seconds? And you just capture those seconds that the spirit might be there?
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 pictures before this, and 2 or 3 pictures after this, and this is maybe the 2nd or the 3rd picture.
You can sometimes just get the feeling that you're being watched, and then sometimes it's a really uncomfortable feeling, and you sort of don't want to be, like, whichever room it's in. It could be like in like the bar area, or like the function room, or the dining room, or like even in our house. Sometimes it's a feeling that you're okay to be around, and other times you just feel like you shouldn't be there, and that you're not wanted there, if you know what I mean. And it's a strange feeling.
We were sitting at the bar having a drink, and we could hear 3 claps. So I thought, what's that? So we got up, walked in to the restaurant, and there was nothing there.
No.
So I don't know what that was.
of course I went and checked it all out, thinking, well, who's over there? I couldn't find anybody.
But the most strangest experience we've ever had in here was the television. With my son, when we first came here, every night he'd play pool in there, and the television wouldn't be on, switched off at the wall, and he'd be playing pool, and all of a sudden the television would come on, 6:15 every night. So in the end, he got so spooked, he stopped coming in.
Well, one night we were locking up, so all the lights were off, and my boyfriend was just looking through the window to see if he could see anything, because he knew that things were around, and he stood there looking out the window, and a woman appeared and just sort of moved straight across him, and she looked like a maid. She was wearing like cleaner's clothes, like old Victorian style clothes, and just looked like she was just sort of cleaning and just sort of went past.
Was that a shadow, or was that an apparition?
Yeah, you could see her. It was like, it just looked like a normal person that just walked straight past in front of him.
Ron, does anyone else manage to get similar pictures while you're taking them?
People have captured what they call orbs in the same sort of areas and direction of where I've been taking photographs. To be honest, I take most of these when I'm on my own, but with the paranormal groups, you know, they're there when I take a photograph, so if something is captured, they can see it straight away.
This one is really quite extraordinary, because you can really see the figure sitting there, and that's right there, isn't it?
Yes. I have been in there a previous time, and with a medium, and he was beckoning what we believe was a young boy, so who knows?
Ron, are all these pictures just taken on a normal camera then?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on my 3rd camera now. It started with a tiny Samsung camera, and I use a couple of Fuji cameras now.
I mean, I find them absolutely astonishing, but most people would look at these and their first comment would be,
Yeah.
Are they photoshopped?
Yeah, of course. Well, they're not, because you can't take a photograph in a room and then produce the image.
So you literally show that to someone as soon as you've taken it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've taken photographs with maybe up to 20 people in a room. You know, you can only do that, and if they don't believe you, then they never will, I guess.
I mean, it's amazing to think what a ghost might look like. Obviously, I've never seen one, and you're showing me a photograph of what, and you're telling me that's a ghost.
It's an energy. I don't like using the word ghost. I'm being a spiritualist. I like the word spirit, and yeah, it's an energy, and I think a lot of buildings retain the energies.
Well, I must say I find those spirit photographs intriguing, but I think the only way I'll really believe it for myself is if I manage to catch a spirit on my camera. Here's hoping. See you next time. Bye-bye.
At 11, we hit the war zone with a breathtaking feat of true British grit. 24 hours in the making, the story of the Wellington bomber in 30 minutes, after more great British ghosts. Next.